Claire had always been drawn to history. The ancient world, full of mysteries, had always called to her. When she received the invitation to study the church in the remote village of Ravenswood, she was intrigued. The church had stood for centuries, and rumors surrounding its foundation intrigued her more than anything. Locals spoke in hushed tones of strange noises coming from beneath the church, of unexplained occurrences. But Claire was a skeptic. She believed in science, not superstition. Upon her arrival, the church seemed ordinary at first, albeit imposing. Its walls were aged, its stone steps worn by the passage of time. But there was something unsettling about it. Claire felt an odd chill in the air as she stepped inside, her footsteps echoing in the silent sanctuary. The church's caretaker, an elderly man named Gregory, warned Claire to leave the basement alone. He told her that the church had been built over an old burial ground, but that there was nothing to worry about, nothing that could be found. Claire, however, was determined. She had come for answers, and she wasn't leaving without them. As she made her way down into the church's basement, Claire couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. The air grew colder as she descended into the dark, dusty space. Her flashlight flickered ominously as she reached the lower levels. And then, she found it. At the far end of the basement, the floor was uneven, and strange markings were etched into the stone. Claire knelt down, brushing away the dirt and grime. Beneath the floorboards, she discovered something that made her blood run cold. Bones. The bones of dozens of people, carefully arranged beneath the church's foundation. Claire immediately felt a surge of dread wash over her. These weren't just ordinary bones. They were ancient, covered in strange symbols. As she touched one, a sharp jolt of energy coursed through her body, and she stumbled back in horror. The bones seemed to pulse, as though they were alive. The walls of the basement began to shake, and Claire heard whispers echoing in the air. It was then that the truth became clear. These bones were cursed, the remnants of a long-forgotten massacre. They were the remains of those betrayed by the church's founder, who had buried them beneath the foundation to hide their crimes. As the whispers grew louder, Claire's flashlight died, plunging her into darkness. The temperature in the room dropped, and a figure appeared before her. It was a man, but his face was hidden in shadow. He spoke in a low, menacing voice. "You should not have disturbed them," the figure said, his voice echoing through the room. "They were meant to stay buried. Now, they will come for you." Claire felt her heart race as she turned to flee, but the door to the basement slammed shut, trapping her inside. The ground beneath her feet cracked open, and skeletal hands reached out from the floor, grabbing at her ankles. The bones were awakening, hungry for the living. In a panic, Claire struggled to break free. She remembered the legend that the bones could be appeased with blood, that the spirits of the buried would relent if their blood was spilled in sacrifice. But there was no way out. The church itself seemed to come alive with the vengeful spirits of the long dead. With the bones closing in on her, Claire knew she had to act quickly. She grabbed the nearest object, a broken, rusted candle holder, and smashed it against the floorboards, exposing a hidden passage beneath the church. With all her strength, Claire pushed through, escaping into the unknown. But the curse didn't end there. Claire fled Ravenswood, but as she left the church behind, she could still hear the whispers. The bones were calling her name, and they would never stop until they had their revenge.